Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Community sets the agenda.
Well, it's time now to look at the traffic this morning. And when we are looking at Gauteng and news that have just come in, there is a multi-vehicle crash, and this is on the N12 eastbound, and that is before the Xavier off-ramp. Also looking at the N1 northbound, this is near Rigel Avenue. There is a vehicle that is stuck on the shoulder lane. Also, Ravonia Road vehicle on the left-hand lane and has been stuck, but all lanes have now been open, so traffic is a lot more easier in that area. On Garsfontein Road on the N1, all lanes are open after an earlier incident. And on the N12 westbound, and this is near Kingsway, and here we've seen a crash that has involved a pedestrian, and also on the N12 eastbound, and that is near Potfontein Road. Roadworks are taking place, and the right-hand lane is blocked. Looking at KwaZulu-Natal this morning on the N3 westbound, and this is near Pavilion, St. James Avenue. The left-hand lane is blocked. There is a vehicle that is stuck there as well. On the N3 eastbound, Mahogany Ridge, Stockville Road, the road is now open after an earlier incident. And also looking at the N2 northbound, and that is near Prospecton Road, where as a result of rain, there has been some severe traffic pressure earlier on. Looking at the weather this morning, Pretoria highs of 22, Johannesburg 20, Cape Town 18, Durban 18, Bloemfontein 23, Polokwane 19, Uppington 20, Port Elizabeth 17, and East London 16, and right across the entire country, cloudy conditions, and rain is expected for the better part of the day. The time is just gone, 20 minutes past 8 a.m. and we kicking off with the first interview this morning on News and Views. And as pointed out earlier about allegations of the Wits Progressive Youth Alliance being captured by the Zionist lobby and their affiliation with Zionists at the Wits campus. This morning we're joined by Muhammed Choonara, who is a former student leader at the University of Pretoria. We're also going to be having Thato Mokoena, and he was transformation officer of the SRC and was part of the pushback against Zionist infiltration in the year that some SRC candidates tried to campaign without a kafir. And also Kaamil Alli, a former MSA Union president and former Wits SRC Secretary General. We're going across now, and I see Thato is with us, and also Kaamil. Thato, good morning to you, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Inayet. How are you?
Very well, thanks. And you?
Good, good.
And Kaamil Alli, assalamu alaikum to you, and welcome.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you, Inayet?
Yes, alhamdulillah, very, very well. And we are still waiting for Muhammed Choonara to join us. But Thato, I'd like to begin with you. Now, obviously, this has been a major issue. I've seen the statement by the Palestine Solidarity Committee, the statement about the alleged decision of the Wits Progressive Youth Alliance to run a Zionist candidate on its SRC election slate.
Yeah. I mean, you know, one of the things is that while I'm shocked, I'm not surprised, right? As you said, like, this has been something that's been long coming. And, you know, the opposition to it we're no longer on campus, so like we don't know how much there is opposition on campus itself, and so it's clear now that the Zionist camp has gotten stronger, and they've found themselves on the slate.
Yes. Now, also, Kaamil, this association between the PYA and the Zionist lobby on a campus. Now, this has obviously been going on for quite a while. But the key issue here is when one looks at the makeup of the PYA, we're talking of the likes of the ANC Youth League. We're talking about the Young Communist League. We're talking about the South African Students' Congress organization. Now, these have all been progressive organizations that have stood up, that have campaigned against injustices, against apartheid and the like. And the mere fact that, you've got this situation where they are talking to the likes of a Zionist lobby on campus, I'm sure that is a problem.
Yeah, sorry. I think the issue itself is a huge one, and I think it's a lot more complex than simply the organizations themselves affiliating or associating themselves with the Zionist lobby. And I think that yes, it has been a long time coming, and yes, there have been flirtations with the Zionist lobby for a number of years. Thato will tell you about the instances of propaganda trips that certain SRC members deployed by the PYA have accepted. So it starts a while before this year, where explicitly there's now a Zionist candidate on the SRC slate. But one must also take care to remember that this is not a decision of the organization or positionings of the organizations themselves. In fact, there have been statements and communication from upper structures of the Progressive Youth Alliance at a regional and a provincial level that have condemned these actions of the branches at Wits, that have actively tried to instruct and direct the Wits branch to desist from running a Zionist candidate. But obviously, those interventions can only go so far before some more drastic measures are required for them to stop something like this from happening. At the same time, the issue is there's an added layer of complexity which the Zionist lobby tends to capitalize on, and that is the vulnerability of students, especially when it comes to the issue of fees, and financial assistance. We're talking about a lobby that is financially probably one of the strongest in the world, right? We see the kind of financial pressure that they're able to exercise in the United States. Same here in South Africa. We are not at all immune to that kind of pressure, that financial pressure. And as poor students, which make up most of the activist spaces, they are obviously going to be attracted to that kind of financial leverage that the Zionist lobby is able to exert on you.
Yes. Now, also, Thato, what I'm trying to wrap my mind around is the total disconnect between the youth organization and, for instance, even when one looks at the ANC, which is the parent organization for the organization like the PYA, where we see there is this disconnect where on the one hand, you would find the ANC, the government, taking certain resolutions with regard to the relationship with the Zionist entity. Yet when one goes or filters down into the youth structures, we find a totally different story emerging. And I know, yourself, and as I mentioned in the introduction as well, you have been part of this pushback of Zionist infiltration on campus.
Yeah. So the one thing I think is that there isn't a real separation because well, there shouldn't be, because the organizations themselves have the same resolutions that the ANC holds, right? And for many years, and for most of the organizations around the country, Wits being the exception in this case, right? There is consistency. So I don't know, maybe Wits has been a particularly important kind of site for the Zionist lobby, but they've always tried. Like when we joined, the PYA at Wits in 2014, the chairperson of SASCO was suspended for having gone on the propaganda trip. So for me, the disconnect for me seems to be something that the Zionist lobby has been working slowly and hard at, but also is a disconnect that only exists mainly, on the Wits campus, I think. And one of the things that make I think the Wits campus so vulnerable is what Kaamil is talking about, that one, proximity to like the likes of Saujis. I don't know if they exist in any other university. If so, it's probably like only the big ones. So yeah, I think there has been, a concerted effort by them to foster that disconnect between the ANC and the youth structures, which by and large, I think have been consistent with the mother body.
Yes. Now, also, Kaamil, this relationship with the PYA, and this is important to understand because we're now seeing concerns that have been raised, and also with regards to maintaining this relationship going forward with the likes of PYA. And I'd just like your views, your thoughts on whether this relationship should be terminated or maintained.
So just that I'm understanding you correctly. You speak about the relationship between soldiers
Yes.
and the PYA.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely an unhealthy relationship. I think as structures of the mass democratic movement, it can't be that we are in association with an organization that has its founding values in Zionism, which is an oppressive settler colonialism political ideology. It fundamentally goes against everything that the PYA structures would stand for. So I think it's definitely not something that can be allowed to persist. If the PYA is to, at Wits in particular, is to maintain any kind of legitimacy on campus with poor students.
Yes, I see we have been joined by Muhammed Choonara, who is a former student leader at the University of Pretoria. Muhammad, assalamu alaikum and welcome.
Assalamu alaikum and jazakallah so much for having me on the platform again. It's always such a pleasure to be collaborating with the station.
Yes, Mohammed, I've been talking to both Thato Mokoena and Kaamil Alli about what has happened at the Wits campus and this relationship between PYA and SAUJS, and which is obviously an avowed Zionist organization from the statement that I've just seen that has been released by the PSC. Now, the key issue or the critical question here has been this relationship between the two, but more importantly, when one looks at the youth structures on campus, when one looks at organizations like the Students Representative Council, and to have people basically affiliated to Zionists serving on this body, what does this actually mean for the student community?
Of course, and I think it's an absolute travesty of what has occurred. And I think, we are all aware of Tata Madiba's words on countless occasions that our freedom as a republic of South Africa would not be complete without the, emancipation as well as the freedom of the Palestinian persons from the Israeli regime. And for an organization that says that they are aligned to the African National Congress, the kind of stance that they have taken is really something that is concerning. And they should really distance themselves from kind of saying that, they are aligned with the ANC and its structures, because we are very much aware that the ANC is very much for the Palestinian persons and very much in solidarity for the fight for freedom, justice, and equality in this regard. So I think it's very important as leaders in our rights and in our platforms and in our positions to make it very clear that any or all affiliation that we might have had in the past with PYA, Wits, and I think it's also very important to note that the MSA Wits has withdrawn from the affiliation, and they have also duly released an SRC slate on their social media accounts. And I think, as I'm saying, it's really, really important that we make very clear that any and all affiliation that we might have had in the past is null and void. And negotiating with colonizers is something that will not be tolerated. And the PYA, as it stands, needs to really do some deep introspection, because they have gone against, democratic principle in almost every right.
Thato, just going forward, what is the plan of action?
So what I think should happen, and this is something we should take from the years past, right, is that the students should never think that this the Zionist lobby is something that is going to stop trying to get people on the list, get students to go on their trip. So for me, the way forward for this election, I think they're not going to back down. But in future, it's honestly, there must be a constant kind of tug of war against this kind of behavior from students, right? Because even from our years, it was a small group of students that stood up against this, but it was a successful group of students that did, because there's support from the mother organization when you say we stand for the Palestinian people's liberation. So I think for me, it's that there needs to be a solid standing on the ground, and even from whenever there's a deviation, even from upper structures of the ANC, need to kind of push that narrative. And to speak a little bit about what the MSA, the MSA at Wits specifically has had a hard time for the last few years because of this kind of Zionist lobby, right? The Zionist lobby has tried very hard to separate the Muslim Students Association with the PYA for this particular purpose, right? And for me, while this year I understand that it's an untenable situation, I think the space must constantly be contested, right? We must constantly contest the space against the Zionist lobby, be it the MSA, be it the Youth League, be it upper structures of the ANC.
Well, gentlemen, to both of you, we thank you for your time with us this morning here on Salam Media and for coming on and discussing this very, very critical issue. But for now, we wish you all the best. Please take care and be safe.
Thank you.
Well, that brings us straight on to 8:35 a.m.
Thank you so much for
We're
having
going
us.
to go for an ad break. And when we come back, we'll be taking a look at the criminal justice system. And the question is it the only option for survivors of gender-based violence in the country?